So following yesterday's multi-day balance breakdown, our short-term bias is now going to be bearish, while the intermediate continues to be neutral and the bigger picture is still bullish. Now, as day traders, we always need to be mindful of the intraday situation. So even though our short-term bias is bearish, it's with the understanding that yesterday the market got oversold and overextended into support, and that's why we saw a pretty nice bounce in the overnight session. And now, in order for the recent bearishness to continue, ideally sellers hold ES below the 51.18 to 27 initial resistance zone. And then in order to get downside range expansion and in order for the sell-off to continue, we'll need to see a breakdown below the pre-market and initial support on signs of initiative selling. So that means we'll need to see continued broad market weakness and sustained downside momentum, and ideally the other markets also participating in the downside move. And again, as day traders, we always need to be mindful of the intraday situation. Our trade setups and executions are going to be based on the smaller or intraday time frame, which is usually measured in minutes, not hours or days. So yes, the short-term bias is bearish, and we are going to give more edge to the sell side, but at the same time, we need to remember the principle of initiative versus responsive and understand that in order for the market to continue selling off, we now need to see a break below yesterday's low. So that means a breakdown below the pre-market support zone, followed by a breakdown below initial support on broad market weakness and sustained downside momentum. And we have the aggressive area of support at 5100, 5108, and holding above that area would be a sign of stability. It doesn't necessarily mean that the market is strong, but it tells you that we're not as weak. And if the market is weak, then we should be able to take out the aggressive support with ease. And on the downside, a break and hold below pre-market support would be a bearish indication, and a breakdown below initial support would serve as a bearish confirmation, which can then open the door for a test of the support areas below. Now, given how much we already sold off yesterday, we would need to see some major weakness on the day time frame in order to get a similar magnitude move on the downside. A lot of times when you get a big directional move on day one, on day two, you may just consolidate at lower prices or perhaps expand the range lower, but then once the market finds support, it can go into yet another consolidation phase. So those are things we need to keep in mind as we are looking for ideal opportunities.